Hi, this is Jundo. Welcome to Tree Leaf. That little glow is the moon rising over Tree Leaf Sangha this evening here in Tsukuba, Japan. It looks so small in the camera, but from here it's so full and bright. You know, the moon in Zen poetry is traditionally a mark of enlightenment. So full, so bright, so whole, and all our words are just fingers pointing at the moon. So let me do a little more moon pointing tonight. Our section of the Shinshin Ming today again tells us to drop all the dualities, drop them through and through. Leave not even a trace of this and that, of right and wrong. And we sit in this way. Sometimes when we sit, the divisions between self and other, this and that, right and wrong, beautiful and ugly, soften. Sometimes they can so very much drop away that some speak of kensho, the barriers between self, other, the world, vanish. All is as whole, bright, shining as that moon. But once again, the Shinshin Ming tells us not to stay there, to have our moon and walk on this earth too. Do not even be attached to the one. Rather, find the one that is in all the broken pieces of this world. I'm going to tell you a little story, and it has to do with these next lines. When the mind exists undisturbed in the way, nothing in the world can offend. And when a thing can no longer offend, it ceases to exist in the old way. There's so much in this world to offend us, to shock us, to sadden us, to scare us. And when we perceive this moonlight in all the broken pieces, there is nothing in the world to offend, to scare, to create friction for us. Even the things that do offend, that scare us, cease to exist in the old way. The things that sadden us cease to exist in the old way. Just to give you a quick story. A couple of weeks ago, I was up in Tohoku, in the region hit by the tsunami. My wife Mina just came back yesterday from there. And we were doing some impossible work on the cleanup. And near the place where we were standing, there are mountains of broken glass of all kinds that have been swept up. Bottles, mirrors, windows, thousands and thousands of pieces piled as high as mountains. And you can't help looking at it without thinking that it represents people's broken lives, people's broken families, broken homes, broken hearts, those who have lost loved ones, children. And it's tragic. There's no way to get all those pieces back together. They're shattered. It's ugly. And then as I was standing there looking at it, the moon came up very much like tonight's moon. And suddenly all the pieces glowed like jewels. The moon fully reflected in 1,001 different shapes, sizes, big pieces of glass, small pieces of glass, round glass, all kinds of reflections, each holding the moon perfectly, much as I put up about what Master Dogen wrote. Big pieces held the moon big, small pieces held the moon small, like the moon reflected in dewdrops or in a lake or the sea, sometimes reflected deep, sometimes reflected shallow, but all reflecting the moon. Enlightenment was in all of that, was all that, just for that moment. It was like Indra's net, if you know the story of Indra's net. Indra's net is said to be a net that shows the deep interconnection of all things on each, it's like a spider web, and at each intersection of the strings of the web there is a jewel or a pearl that reflects the light of all the other infinite pearls in the net, so that one reflects all the others. And this Indra's net shows the deep interconnection and wholeness of all things. Well, for that moment, the moon, reflected in all that broken glass, also made it whole, bright, shining as the moon itself. And then a cloud passed, and the moon was gone. And the broken glass was there as it had been before. But it wasn't the same, was it? Somewhere in the broken pieces, the wholeness, the light, the shining is still there. You know, sometimes we think that we're only doing this practice right when we feel it right. You know, those peaceful moments when we're sitting zazen. But the moon is there even when hidden by the clouds. The wholeness, the shining, the bright is there when it's reflecting before our eyes, when we can see it, when we can taste it, when it bathes us in light and also in the deepest darkness. Many times. Tomorrow I have to go for a small medical procedure. Nothing too major, just one of those things that you do when you're over 50. And it's the same. I'm a little afraid, a little worried. I'll talk about that next time, but the moment that light shines, it's not the same. Just to say these words one more time. When the mind exists undisturbed in the way, when one can see the oneness and the wholeness in all the broken pieces, nothing in the world can offend. Nothing in the world can scare us. Nothing in the world can sadden us, even as we cry, even as we shake with fear. And when a thing can no longer offend, it ceases to exist in the old way. Shall we sit with that?